Most people think overthinking is a lack of confidence, a weakness, a bad habit. But psychology suggests something more complicated, because the ability to overthink comes from the same mental process that allows people to solve problems, imagine possibilities, and think deeply about the world. In other words, the mind that creates solutions is often the same mind that creates unnecessary problems. And that is why intelligence and overthinking frequently appear together. The human brain evolved to predict the future. Long before modern civilization existed, anticipating danger increased the chances of survival. A person who considered possible threats was more likely to avoid them. A person who ignored potential risks was often less fortunate. As a result, the brain became exceptionally good at imagining what could happen next. That ability remains one of humanity's greatest strengths, but it also creates one of humanity's most common psychological struggles. Because the brain does not only imagine positive outcomes, it imagines negative ones too, and sometimes it imagines far too many of them. When faced with a decision, some people immediately choose a direction and move forward. Others begin analyzing. They examine every possibility, every risk, every outcome, every mistake that could occur, every future scenario that might unfold. At first, this seems logical. The more information you have, the better the decision should be. But eventually, something strange happens. The search for certainty becomes endless. Because certainty rarely exists, there is always another possibility to consider, another outcome to analyze, another variable to calculate, and the mind becomes trapped in a loop. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as analysis paralysis, a state where thinking becomes so excessive that it prevents action. The person is not lacking intelligence. They are often using too much of it in the wrong direction. Instead of solving the problem, they are endlessly expanding it. One reason intelligent people overthink is because they are able to see complexity where others see simplicity. A simple decision rarely feels simple. Choosing a career becomes a question about purpose, identity, and long-term happiness. Starting a relationship becomes a question about compatibility, vulnerability, and future consequences. Taking a risk becomes a calculation involving dozens of possible outcomes. The mind begins constructing increasingly detailed mental simulations. And while some of those simulations are useful, many of them never become reality. The brain treats possibilities as if they are probabilities. Just because something could happen does not mean it is likely to happen. Yet the overthinking mind often struggles to distinguish between the two. A single negative possibility can receive enormous attention simply because it exists. This creates anxiety, not because danger is present, but because danger has been imagined. The body responds to imagined threats surprisingly similarly to real ones. Heart rate increases, stress rises, attention narrows. The nervous system prepares for a problem that may never arrive, and the person experiences genuine emotional consequences from a hypothetical situation. Another reason intelligent people overthink is perfectionism. Many people assume perfectionism is about high standards, but at its core, perfectionism is often about fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of failure, fear of regret, fear of being judged. The mind believes that if it thinks long enough, it can eliminate uncertainty completely. But uncertainty is part of life. No amount of thinking can remove it. And the attempt to do so often creates even more stress. Ironically, overthinking rarely improves decisions as much as people expect. Research consistently shows that beyond a certain point, additional analysis produces diminishing returns. The quality of decisions stops improving significantly, but anxiety continues increasing. The person feels productive because they are thinking, yet they are often moving nowhere. This is one of the great illusions of overthinking. It feels like progress, but thinking and progress are not always the same thing. Sometimes progress requires action. Action provides feedback. Feedback creates learning. Learning creates clarity. And clarity often arrives faster through experience than through endless analysis. Many people spend months thinking about something they could have learned in a week simply by trying. This does not mean thinking is bad. Deep thinking is valuable. Reflection is valuable. Careful decision making is valuable. The goal is not to think less. The goal is to think more effectively. Healthy thinking seeks understanding. Overthinking seeks certainty. And certainty is something life rarely provides. At some point, every meaningful decision requires a leap into the unknown. No amount of analysis can completely predict the future. No amount of preparation can eliminate every risk. Eventually, action becomes necessary. The people who make progress are not always the people who have the best plans. They are often the people willing to move forward despite incomplete information, despite uncertainty, despite doubt, because confidence rarely appears before action. More often, confidence appears after action, after experience, after mistakes, after learning. And perhaps that is the hidden truth about overthinking. The mind believes it is protecting you. It believes that more analysis will create more safety. But sometimes the path forward is not found through additional thinking. It is found through movement. Because life is not something that can be fully understood from a distance. It has to be experienced. And in a world overflowing with information, possibilities, and uncertainty, the ability to stop analyzing and start acting may become one of the most valuable psychological skills a person can develop. Subscribe to Quiet Theory for more explorations into psychology, human behavior, and the hidden patterns shaping modern life.